Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to the 12th session of the FTP. I would like to introduce the speaker of our FTP session, Dr. Malati S. Dr. Malati S is currently working as Head of ECE Department, MS Ramaya University of Applied Sciences, Bangalore. She completed her PhD from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in the year 2012. Her research areas of interest are biophotonics, optical MEMS devices, and optical networks. She is a recipient of SPIE scholarship and Professor Selvarajan's International Travel Grant. She is currently serving as PI for an ISRO Respond project for gas sensor development and co-PI in AR and DB sponsored research project for heat flux sensor development. She is the chairperson of 2020-21 IEEE Photonics Society, Bangalore. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, yes, for the warm welcome, and thanks for introducing me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hope I can start sharing my screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
I'll stop sharing the poster, ma'am. You can start.
Sure. Very good afternoon, Triveni madam and the team members, head of the department of Malnad EC department, and other students who have joined online for this session. A very good afternoon to everybody. And it's my pleasure to be part of this event, and I thank Dr. Triveni for providing me this opportunity. And without any further delay, I would like just move on to the topic. So probably like you might have attended several sessions on applications of optical devices. Either it could be fiber devices or otherwise it can be integrated optic devices throughout this session from Monday, I guess. So now I'll be just focusing on interdisciplinary research, which is being carried out at Ramaya University between Civil Department and EC Department. So I've taken a case study particularly with respect to the fiber Bragg sensors, which are used for the structural health monitoring. Prior to that, we would like to see always health monitoring means we will think about only our health, and we will not be thinking as a ECE people, we may not be thinking about the structural health aspects also. But fiber Bragg sensors and other optical devices are also finding a lot of applications in structural health monitoring. So we'll just see what is basically the architecture or civil structure and why it is so essential, though we don't realize the importance when compared to the communication devices and other biomedical devices. So the meaning of architecture, I would just like to give some glimpses which mostly have taken from the Google, and I put the corresponding slides also at the bottom or references at the bottom. So architecture basic meaning is like is a master of builder. So way back in 1990s, or when we were about to join for engineering, parents used to always think that first and foremost thing they will think that engineer means it's only male. Another thing is like why girls have to study engineering, they will ask. Subsequently, and then we were saying like electronics engineering is there, then they used to wonder engineer means the one who is building the structures. And at the second one would be generally used to be like electrical engineer. Apart from that, the other disciplines were not very common during early 90s. But now you have variety of branches, and apart from that, like modern technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning are also pitching in at various interdisciplinary level. So basically architecture is master builder, and chief basically it is referring to the carpenter and other related fields. A simple analogy why there is normally a building is called being constructed, but sometimes it is being called as architecture marvel. So probably most of the temples or other monumental built in various countries and various capital cities and other places we used to visit. That's tourism attraction mainly. The reason is when we say architecture, and I just say that it is beautiful. Other places we just say that it's building palaces and just a construction which has been done with stone, wood, or concrete. But whereas when I say that this is very beautiful, and if you start wondering about it, then we refer that as an architecture marvel. So it's our duty to preserve everything. So that would be the motive behind my topic, which we recently picked up this interdisciplinary topic when we started collaborating with the civil department faculty member, Dr. Anita Kumari, and one PG student has done preliminary work in master level project during her dissertation time period for 6 months, and subsequently our UG students are also pursuing this structural health monitoring, and now we started experimental work also. I'll come back to that when I take the case study. So when I was doing my PhD, the structure which I have considered for my PhD work was integrated optic micro ring resonator. Probably some of the speakers might have mentioned about this integrated optic ring resonator. So whenever I talk about the ring resonator, this analogy came in, this history of finding this whispering gallery mode analogy has come with respect to St. Paul's Cathedral, so which was proposed by Lord Rayleigh. So the analogy is, if you see the structure, so anybody speaks over there in the gallery, it can be heard at certain locations. So that is basically like the wave is able to propagate on the circumference of the gallery. Okay, so that's why they used to mention that as whispering gallery mode. The same terminology has been given to the wave, optical wave, which is flowing through an integrated optic waveguide. Probably this structure you people might have seen in the presentation, I guess. And meanwhile, if you have any queries, you are free to stop. You don't have to wait till the end. So you can unmute yourself and we can make it as an interactive session. That's my wish. So this is a very famous structure. Most of the students who are working on integrated optic devices would have come across this ring resonator structure. These are two waveguides, and in between you have a circular waveguide. The light will be coupled to the circular waveguide, and then the output will be coming here. And the generic application of this device is a simple filter. So you can drop a particular wavelength which is actually resonating. Not all the wavelengths will be resonating. Only particular discrete value will be resonating dependent on the effective index of the mode which is propagating, and also the radius of the ring which is being considered. So this is the analogy which Einstein Rayleigh proposed during his study with respect to the St. Paul's Cathedral in London, and subsequently the theory has been developed. Though we are going to talk about various structural health monitoring system, I just wanted to give some glimpses of other applications of fiber as well. I know very well those who are in final year students might have studied little bit about optical fibers, and if not, by attending this session, you would have come across the basic structure of an optical fiber. So the optical fiber consists of a core, and which is being surrounded by cladding. The core has the highest refractive index compared to the cladding, and because of total internal reflection, the light is propagating inside the fiber. And the recent post by, just a second, I think, am I audible? There's a disturbance in the system, probably.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So recently, this was the post by Sundar Pichai, and this is regarding the optical cable. Actually, transatlantic cable has been laid for the communication purpose. Now, in the year 2020, then they started thinking about, can we use this optical fibers for the purpose of detecting earthquake or otherwise tsunami, prediction of tsunami or such kind of things? Is it possible? Can we think about using the communication cable for detecting those changes? Because the optical fiber, for example, if you are applying a load or otherwise you are just making it stressful, then obviously the refractive index of the mode which is transmitted is getting changed. So that refractive index change or N effective can be detected, and based on that you can either convert that into an intensity variation or you can convert that into a wavelength variation. So why can't we use the laid cables for the purpose of detecting earthquake? Was one of the novel proposal by Google CEO. And now coming back to structural health monitoring, see these are the some of the pictures. When I say structural health monitoring, what is the meaning basically? See, the buildings are subjected to stress, displacement, acceleration, and because of that, cracks will be developed. So we need to continuously monitor. See, the one way is like while building the structure, if you have a planned, then probably you can put everything as an inbuilt sensor to detect the structure of that particular structural health of a building, or otherwise it could be building, or otherwise it could be bridge also. Bridge, when is being utilized for the public, that is very crucial, and whose health has to be monitored continuously. So the development of the crack has to be monitored, and various parameters are affecting the crack development. It could be the, if it is a bridge, then you need to consider the load which is being carried over the bridge, and how many years are over, and so many things, so many other parameters will also come into picture. Whereas if you talk about a standalone bridge, then you can generally, standalone bridge are not subjected to any loads as such, other than the permanent load of like whatever being kept in your home. Other than that, you don't have any dynamic loading being applied on a building. Whereas when you compare that with the bridge, then you have a dynamic loading. So these are the crucial structures which needs to be monitored continuously before it collapses. And probably in news, you might have seen several such collapsing happening. It's not just with respect to the structure of the bridges being constructed, and also especially in this Madikere area and wherever this rainfall is very high, you could see like the landslides are very frequent, and then sometimes the loss of lives is too much when I mean it's irreparable, and prediction is the only possible solution where government has to really work on monitoring the structures as well as prediction well in advance before it collapses completely. So that's where the structural health monitoring is very crucial. I wanted to make some connection between the reality what you see in the news, and that too recently with a lot of rainfall, that you could see like various places like the roads are being washed away, and towns are being completely surrounded by water, and all those things are very crucial, and we need to actually think about predicting those losses before the occurrence. So what are the basically in this study, the case study which I have taken here for reference is Fiber-Bragg rating-based structural health monitoring. So especially we have modeled that using a simulation software. That was a preliminary study. So we just studied how cracks are being developed and how it is going to progress. So in that way, already existing sensors such as strain gauge is a universally used structure with respect to the structural monitoring. But with recent advances, even optical devices, optical sensors are used for detecting the structural health monitoring. So when I say conventional sensor, I'm just referring only to strain gauge, because we have taken only two analogies here and we compared, but there could be a lot of other sensors available in the conventional sensor with respect to civil structure. And at the lab level, we will be using like universal testing machine in order to study. For example, if I say I want to study a composite material which I would like to develop at the lab, or otherwise cast at the lab, a small concrete bar, or otherwise like a brick kind of structure, then I have to test it in my lab also, whether the crack is being developed at particular loading conditions and so on. In that case, we will be talking about universal testing machine, which is generally available in a civil department or mechanical department of any college. So when compared to conventional sensors, the major advantage of optical fiber sensor is no EMI, electromagnetic interference, when compared to other sensors, and also it is very miniaturized when compared to the bulky conventional sensors. While exploring the optical fiber sensors, we have several types. I would like to show the classification. By then, you can actually do it in two ways. One is like keeping at a specific location where you know that the crack is going to be developed, or otherwise you can keep it as a distributed fiber Bragg grating sensor over a length of structure. That means in a fiber you can use either one FPG, or otherwise you can write n number of FPG and put it over a longer structure in order to monitor the structural health. This is what I mentioned, and apart from then, one more advantage here is like the loss. The signal loss in the case of optical fiber is very minimum when compared to other types of sensors if you are considering. And there is no electricity involved, so then the safety picture doesn't come into picture, and you don't have to worry about the level of optical signal. That's not going to create any electromagnetic interference, and it's not hazardous also. So I would like to tell about the fiber optic sensor, and probably some of the slides, if it is redundant, I may be skipping, but I would like to tell you the main classification here. Yeah, the structural health monitoring basically comprises of distinct subsets. You can actually measure using an array of sensors. That's what I said, distributed sensing. Another thing is like you have to identify the structure which you want to monitor, and you have to develop continuous data from the sensor array, and then you have to analyze and make decisions. Generally, the last point, we just call it as calibration of the sensor, as well as, see, if with known load, we will be making some table, and if I say this much is the load, then what is the wavelength shift which is coming out of the Bragg wavelength shift, and accordingly then I would be able to predict the crack is going to develop in the particular structure and so on. So these are the various or fundamental distinct subset of a structural health monitoring, with comprising of any sensor. It doesn't have to be just only optics, it can be any type of sensor. And some glimpses, those who have I think if you are very familiar, then probably I could skip this. Probably you, and may I know the audience, like how many sessions you have attended with respect to optical fiber communication, so that I could skip this slides also?
Madam, only I think 4 sessions, madam. From yesterday onwards, we have
okay.
fiber optics, madam.
Okay, okay. So this is a generic block diagram, and I hope some UG students also have joined. So any communication system, we will simply say it has a transmitter and receiver and the transmission medium. In the specific case of optical fiber, your channel is going to be guided. There are two major classification. One example which always I used to tell in my classes, your mobile phone, you don't have any wire connected to it. So it's a completely a wireless device, right? So your microwave signal is the free space channel, whereas when you talk about a fiber, it is going to be a guided mode. So that means you need to either bury that inside under the ground, or otherwise in some places where you don't have any interference, like such a traffic or some other thing, like in colonies or layouts where you don't have any interference with respect to vehicles, then you can think about putting them on an aerial. So either way, you have to have a continuous transmission. You can't put it as a free space optics, because free space optics, you cannot transmit signal over a longer distance. For indoor communication, free space optics may work. So what I mean to say is, always there is a fiber which is a physical medium or guiding medium. So the same thing we are planning to use it for even sensing applications, though it is laid for optical communication application. This I told already. So the middle one is the core and the surrounding one is cladding. Always the refractive index of the core is larger than cladding. And subsequently you have some buffer layer also above this, and that's for providing the mechanical strength. But the optics part is mainly with respect to the core and cladding, and the signal will be launched inside the core, and it is supposed to confine and get transmitted over a longer distance in a fiber. This is a detailed structure of the transmitter and receiver. When I tell about the transmitter, see, though I talk in terms of the communication link, but still, even if you put this as a sensor also, I want to put a fiber Bragg grating, then obviously I should have a light source, and then I need a detector. So in general, for any sensing, you need a sensor here, and this dashed lines wherever it is optical signal is being projected, and other places this dark lines are meaning basically it is electrical signal. So you need a source and you need a detector, and in between you are going to sense either load, or otherwise it could be biomaterial, or it could be any other parameters, temperature you want to monitor. So the main advantage here is, when I talk about the refractive index, it is actually C by V. C is the velocity of light in vacuum. It is 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. And the velocity is in this particular material. Mostly it is SiO2 or GE doped SiO2. In that case, it's the refractive index is somewhere around 1.44. Okay, it depends on completely the material what we are choosing. In that case, what we basically have to understand is, I'm subjecting this fiber to a load. For example, I'm going to put a load here, and it could be like a point load or it could be distributed load. Then the load is a mechanical force that is going to change the refractive index. Okay, or otherwise the mode which is traveling here may have N effective, and there may be a slight change in the N effective due to the loading. That particular phenomena is called as optomechanical coupling, or otherwise optomechanical effect. So the refractive index will change based on mechanics, or otherwise it could be due to temperature. Suppose I'm going to measure or otherwise use this fiber for temperature measurement, then the rise in temperature will actually affect the N1 and N2 value. That is basically called as thermo-optic coefficient. Each and every material will have some value of thermo-optic coefficient and stress optic coefficient and so on. So in that way, we have to choose appropriate material for any chosen application. Okay. So though I put it as an optical link, what the major thing, you can forget about the regenerator. What we will have for our sensor is, you have the sensor in the place of optical fiber, because your sensor is being written inside the fiber only, and you have a transmitter on the receiver side. That means like you have a photodetector. And basically light sources, two major light sources used for any application, whether it is sensing or optical communication, it's LED or laser. You know the difference between LED and laser anyway, that we could discuss if time permits at the end. So it's lasers are costly, and also it's coherent source, and LEDs are incoherent sources. We can actually use the visible spectrum, or otherwise we can use even IR spectrum based on the application. And photodetectors of two categories. It could be like a simple PN photodiode, or otherwise it could be heavily doped avalanche photodiode. So whose APD efficiency is a little more when compared to the photodetector. This is what I was mentioning. For communication purpose, already fiber has been laid in underground ducts, or otherwise you can put it in aerial mount if it is a villa kind of a setup where you don't have any disturbance, so that there you can use this aerial mounting. Whenever we talk about optical communication, we just have to think about the wavelength, which is very useful. So we generally call them as first window, second window, and third window. When I tell it is first window, it is basically 800 nanometer regime. When I say second window, it is 1310 nanometer, and this is 1550 nanometer. So what are the major implications of this first window, second window, third window? Are the first and foremost thing is, the fiber itself has some inherent losses. It gives some losses. So only these window areas where the fiber loss is minimum. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing is, development of sources and detectors at this particular wavelength was also one of the crucial parameters while designing any system. So availability of solid state devices, both source as well as detector and other devices, that's there in the first window, second window, and third window. And the third window, 1550 nanometer, is the one which has the least loss. Okay. So this is what I was mentioning. So you have optical sources, and especially these are like direct bandgap materials, gallium aluminum arsenide. And when I say gallium aluminum arsenide, like it's like a heterostructure. Heterostructure meaning like you don't have only one PN junction. You have like a PN junction constructed with different materials. The center material active layer could be gallium arsenide. On either side, you may have gallium aluminum arsenide, and so on. Okay, these are the advantages. And apart from that, I just want to mention I'm not very sure whether you are able to read this or not. Something called as like erbium doped fiber amplifier. Also, you might have come across this various talks. It's like a rare earth material, praseodymium and erbium. Those two are rare earth materials. When it is being doped to a fiber, that itself will act as an amplifier. So that's an added advantage. Channel itself is acting as an amplifier. Okay. So this is a simple cross section in order to understand the types of fibers and the modes which are being traveled. And generally, based on the index, you can classify them into step index fiber and graded index fiber. In the case of step index fiber, the refractive index of N1 and N2, it is like a step. Obviously, N should be large, N1 should be larger. And whereas in the case of graded index fiber, N of R, that means like refractive index is a function of the radius. Okay. And you could see how the ray path will vary from a step index fiber and graded index fiber. Okay, so this is the mathematical expression where we can talk about the step index fiber and graded index fiber. Graded index fiber, it is a function of the radius. Okay, R is the radial distance and alpha will be the profile parameter because we can choose different types of profile and mostly the parabolic profile is chosen for an graded index fiber. So we have been probably you might have come across the term like mode. So basically the simplest possible explanation for a mode is like a field structure which is existing inside a fiber. That's what we can imagine. So if I see, I'm seeing the cross section, okay, cross section of the fiber being considered, or otherwise we can call this as a slab waveguide also. Lower cladding I have, upper cladding I have, and in between you have the core. So if you see the first one, it doesn't cross the axis. That means then we can term this as, if it is an electric field, then you call it as TE0 mode. If it is crossing the axis once, then it is TE1 mode. And if it is crossing the axis twice, then it is called as TE2 mode. So this is easiest way of explaining a mode. Basically, it is an electromagnetic distribution. And solving the Maxwell's equation would result in this solution of this waves. Basically, how you can imagine is it's just a field pattern which is propagating inside a waveguide. So here, this is a guided mode. Basically, when I am saying a mode, the mode which is traveling inside the core is called as a guided mode. So this is a guided mode, but still you could see some tail-like structure here. So this is called as evanescent tail. Though we think that it may be a loss, but this is very, very essential with respect to sensor. Okay, so the evanescent tail will interact with outside atmosphere or a biomaterial if you want to put here, or otherwise any other external parameter which has to be sensed. This evanescent field is the one which is coming primarily into picture. Okay, and mathematically when you want to express, it's going to be e power minus x, and whereas the middle one is going to be considered in terms of cosine and sine functions. I may be interchangeably using the fiber terminology. Fiber means you could imagine it is a circular waveguide, and if it is a planar one, these are like integrated optic waveguides which are used at the chip level. So especially we call that as, you know, ICs, integrated circuits. What LM, your IC 555 timer or 741 and specific ICs, what you might have studied in your linear integrated circuits. In the same way, for optics also, we can develop devices. The simplest structure is a waveguide. Okay, so this is a lower cladding, and this is a core, and this is an upper cladding. So this is how basically the signal is going. And wherever we talk about an optical signal, I was repeatedly using this terminology N effective. So this is the velocity with which a mode is traveling. Okay, N effective is basically dependent on that C by V of that particular mode, N effective, and K is 2 pi by lambda, and free space propagation constant, and this is beta is the propagation constant of a particular mode. Okay, so these are the fundamental things. So when I say that I'm going to apply some voltage, then it is electro-optic effect. If I say I'm applying a stress, then it is optomechanical effect, or otherwise it may be a biological sensing also. The refractive index of the upper clad, if I'm changing, then the propagation constant is going to change. This is once again the same structure whichever I showed earlier. Like you could have a fundamental mode, and now you could observe each mode will have a different N effective. So here on the top you could see it is 1.99 here, 1.98, 1.94, 1.99 and so on. And what do you observe from this? One specific thing, when I say the core is having a refractive index of 2 and cladding is having refractive index of 1, then you could see the N effective is always between 1 and 2. Okay, so any guided mode should have value between the core refractive index and the cladding refractive index. That's the fundamental condition for a guided mode. And any mode which is below this value, it will actually leak into the substrate or otherwise leak into the cladding. And those are considered, those are not useful for the communication purpose or sensing purpose. And it doesn't travel longer distance also in a waveguide. See, based on waveguide structure, you can classify them into a slab waveguide or it can be a channel waveguide also. When I say slab waveguide, the confinement is only in the vertical direction. That means in only one direction. See, for example, the top layer is going to be N2 and the bottom layer also can be N2, but this will be N1. The light will be confined in this only in the vertical direction. When I say confinement, it is basically the refractive index is providing the confinement. Okay, the light is being confined in the vertical direction alone. Whereas if you have on all sides varying refractive index, then this shaded area or the gray area is the core refractive index that is larger compared to left, top, right and bottom. So that means it's completely surrounded by low refractive index material. Then the wave will be confined both in X direction and in the Y direction. Generally, the transmission direction is taken as Z direction, and so normally this will be taken as Y and this will be taken as X. Okay, for our understanding. So these are various types of channel waveguides which are generally part of this integrated optic devices, basic fundamental devices. So you could have strip waveguide, or otherwise you could see that this is being buried. So this is a specific kind of a waveguide called as diffused waveguide. Okay, or otherwise you can have buried strip waveguide. That means I'm putting another above the strip waveguide, I put another cladding material, so it becomes buried strip waveguide. And you have buried rib waveguide. So this is a rib waveguide structure, and mostly this rib waveguide and the strip waveguide are commonly used for majority of the passive devices. This is the simulation model of a strip waveguide. Most probably some of the students would be familiar if you have chosen this simulation of strip waveguide or rib waveguide using numerical software. So this is a very clear picture of a single mode strip waveguide and showing the TE mode profile. Okay, so you could see the evanescent tail which is coming out of it. It's not just confined, but the high intensity is in the center. And this is the rib waveguide profile. Though we say a perfect sidewalls are expected, this is a SEM image, a scanning electron microscope image. Though we expect a perfect sidewalls here, see in simulation model you may get a perfect sidewalls, but in actual fabrication you may have some perturbations like this. Okay, or otherwise this could be a Bragg structure which is being created. I'll come back to this Bragg structure later. If I explain about fiber Bragg grating, probably you would be able to think about the analogy of these devices. This also a fabricated image of SEM image of a fabricated device. Width is going to be 445 and 220 is the cross section, and it is called a single mode. That means it will allow only TE0 mode or TM0 mode. And similarly in the rib waveguides also, you may be designing it as a perfect vertical wall, but in the fabrication process you may get a trapezoidal structure, and you have some equations like what should be the ratio of W, width of the waveguide, and what should be the thickness of the waveguide, and all those things are governed by empirical relationship which has been experimentally proven. Okay. Now we'll come back to fiber Bragg grating. Just before pitching into the, you have any queries up to this, please, you can stop me. Else at the end we can have discussion. So it's not just the fiber Bragg grating is used for telecommunication application alone. Various applications with respect to telecommunication are, it can be used as a mux, demux, or otherwise a phase conjugator, dispersion compensator, and as a filter, and in amplifiers, also in lasers. Okay, so that's the these are the applications of a fiber Bragg grating. With respect to the sensor, when I talk about the major sensors are a strain sensor or a temperature sensor or a chemical sensor. So this phenomena of photosensitivity was observed in optical fibers by researcher Hill and his team member, and it has been reported in the year 1978. A GE doped optical fiber, when it was exposed to a intense light of 488 nanometer or 514 nanometer, they observed that there is a periodic variation of refractive index in the core. Okay, that's how and the research has been carried out, and they were able to propose a structure called as fiber Bragg grating. And see, if you see the model, you could see like the light, the straight one is the input the signal which is being passed through the fiber, and the cylindrical structures are basically nothing but periodic variation of refractive index. One is higher, another is low, and one is higher and low and high values alternatively, and the spacing between two consecutive high refractive index or low refractive index regime is called as a pitch of the grating. So this permanent variation of the refractive index is being done by the process known as writing of FPG. Okay, so you could see all the light, all the signal whichever we are passing here, it's going, but except only one signal which is being reflected. So that reflected signal is called as Bragg wavelength. So by observing this lambda b, we would be able to sense either stress or otherwise temperature when it is subjected to stress or temperature at this particular regime. Okay. Anyway, this is a repetition. Okay. So here you could see how it is being done. So it is basically called as index modulation. So the Bragg condition is effect of two phenomena. One is the energy conservation, another is momentum conservation. The k vector of the incident light and the reflected light are the crucial factors in order to determine the lambda b. So the lambda b depends on pitch of the grating, that is spacing between the periodic variation, and also the effective index or n effective of the mode which is traveling, and only one particular wavelength will get reflected. So when you see the transmission spectrum, this particular lambda b is dropped. That means you can observe that in the input side. I repeat here, you are launching a broad wavelength or multiple wavelength, lambda 1, 2, 3, like that. You have a continuous signal which is being transmitted over here. When you observe on the other side, the transmission spectrum will reveal that one particular wavelength is dropped. So that particular wavelength which is dropped is known as Bragg wavelength, lambda b, and that depends on the pitch of the grating and also the effective index of the grating. When I say effective index, it is basically the mode index. Okay, the in mode, particular mode, what we are considering is mostly single mode T0 or TM0, and that mode has an effective. Okay. Anyway, this is more of a communication application. I just like to skip some of the things. Now we'll move on to the case study. So the case study is basically to study the carbon fiber reinforced polymer beam by subjecting that into a 3-point load testing. So far it was only simulation because I have not reported any experimental results because it's still ongoing and we are still awaiting some results from the other batch. But in this case study, what I have taken as a carbon fiber reinforced polymer has been taken, and Beam has been modeled in ANSYS software and also in other open source softwares which are available. Then it has been subjected to 3-point loading test, and the corresponding stress variations are converted into lambda B sensor, lambda B variations. Okay. So the sensing principle could be of different types. It can be intensity, or you can observe the reflection, or you can see the interferometry. When I say it is interferometry means, then you need actually a structure, something called as Mach-Zehnder interferometer, which is frequently used, Young interferometer, and so many other type of interferometer are there. When we talk about interferometer, then you need two arms. Like we are going to compare the signal which is passing through a reference and the one which is being subjected to load. Okay, so that is called as interferometry. And scattering, which is being observed, and preliminary, I mean, we may not be using the scattering as a sensing mechanism, and in some cases wavelength will be taken, where this reflection with respect to the FPG, if you consider, lambda B is the one which is being monitored. And once again, the comparison of the conventional sensor with respect to FPG. FPG is a distributed sensor, and also it can be for a shorter distance, or otherwise it can be for a longer distance also, when compared to conventional sensors, which are few meters, whereas FPG sensor can be laid over a larger distance, so which is very crucial with respect to the bridge monitoring structures. And some of the things I would like to skip because it's mostly repetition based. Now I'll go back to, yeah, here. So what are the major sensors which are being considered here for this study? Was fiber Bragg rating, and then one more is Brilliant optical time domain analysis, and another is MZI, which I was mentioning, like it's an interferometer based. You have a reference arm, and then the strain gauge is, which is a conventional sensor which is used for structural health monitoring. This is one more time, like we are trying to explain with respect to a visible spectrum, and you could see here, let us assume the first picture is showing the reflected light is actually in green. We have taken a visible spectrum in order to understand. So this first one is basically unstrained FPG. Maybe the letters are little small, but I would like to read it. This is unstrained FPG, and this is a strained FPG. So what is the difference you are observing here? So the visible spectrum you are passing over here, you could see the reflected light is initially green, and second time we are observing a reflected light is red. That means there is a change in Bragg wavelength. Okay, so unstrained means it's not subjected to any loading, and here it is a strained FPG. Okay, so this is the very basic concept of using FPG as a sensor. This is one such structure where you could actually use the fiber Bragg rating for monitoring. It could be for other communication application also, but anyway, now we will consider only the monitoring application. See, on the left hand side, you could see the broadband source, and here you have optical spectrum analyzer, meaning you are going to detect the lambda B variation by passing it through a equipment called as optical spectrum analyzer. Okay, you can detect which lambda is being dropped over here, and you have to calibrate the device with known loads, and then it will be used for unknown loads. Okay, you can have a power meter also as a measurement, but generally wavelength sensing is the highly sensitive method of detecting any sensor, and we would like to stick on to this only this optical spectrum analyzer, or otherwise a fiber Bragg rating interrogator will be used for this detection method. This is just an extension of that. So as I mentioned, when I said distributed sensor, then you have FPG1, FPG2, FPG3, and so on. N number of FPG can be put on a single fiber or written on a single fiber. And the purpose of a circulator here is to detect, to differentiate the input signal and the reflected signal. You know the circulator also, which you might have studied in your microwave. The port 1, if you pass input, then it will come only in port 2. Whatever comes in port 2 will come only to the port 3. Okay, so you are going to protect the source from any back reflection, and we are going to analyze the signal only in the optical spectrum analyzer. There are different means of connecting the fiber Bragg grating. The sensor can be coupled using a 3 dB coupler also, and this is another type of sensing technique, or otherwise configuration, I can say. When you talk about FPG being or sensor being attached to the target, is you can actually glue it on the surface, or otherwise you can put it inside a pipe and subject to stress, or otherwise while building the structure, like if you don't want to reuse the FPG, then you can think about even putting inside the fiber and monitor, inside the concrete structure and monitor continuously. That's one way. Like if you are gluing to the surface and you want to reuse it, then you can take it away. That is going to be on the surface detection. Whereas if you want to completely place it inside the structure, then while building the structure, you can put this FPG. Anyway, this you can actually watch later. So this is how the UV light is being made to interfere. Two beams of UV light which are made to interfere. So this interference pattern, alternative bright and dark spot, is the one which is going to create the periodic variation of refractive index. Okay. There are different types of packaging method, but anyway, we'll just go to even what we are using in our experiment is a bare fiber. So that's going to be superficially put over the structure for which we are going to apply the load. Okay, so it's such a kind of example which is taken from a literature. Okay. Anyway, rather than reading the slides, I would just directly go to, I would like to explain about this Brillouin optical time domain analysis also. In this case, actually a pulse or a probe is going to be passed via the device, the fiber which is being tested, and then there will be a generation of acoustic wave. Okay, and then you will be detecting which are the counter propagating wave, and see the counter propagating wave is you can imagine that is clockwise and anti-clockwise wave which is being propagating, and then you will be detecting the two signal and compare the phonon frequency. Acoustic wave, whenever it comes into picture, then you will have to talk about the sound. Acoustic refers to basically sound. So here optics is used, but still the beat frequency is going to be in the domain of acoustic wave. Okay, this generation of acoustic wave. But these devices are generally bulky when compared to FPG, and that's the reason in the case study we have gone with FPG, comparing various sensors such as MZI, BOTTA, and FPG. Okay, if I have a structure for this, I will show you MZI. If not, probably at the end I would try to explain this MZI. And CSAG is the one which is generally used. So this is a comparison made by the student while considering the various temperature range and the measurement time, sensitivity, and we may not be able to exactly compare the strain gauge with respect to the fiber, but here you could compare with respect to other optical devices like FPG, BOTTA, and MZI. Okay, so FPG is able to provide a very good sensitivity compared to other devices. Here, I would like to acknowledge my fellow researcher, Dr. Anita Kumari, who is a professor, assistant professor associate professor in Department of Civil Engineering, and most of the work which is being carried out by my student, MTech in Structural Engineering, and I think I'm not sure whether I put the other slides also. Probably I would be able to explain during the interaction, because the beam was actually a model in ANSYS. Okay, the beam was model, and the FPG was actually the beam modeling is 3-point bending load and 2-point bending load has been subjected. But somebody wants to discuss furthermore about it, probably offline we can discuss about it, or otherwise I can share those slides with Triveni madam. Due to, since it's an unpublished work, some of the slides I've removed. I'm sorry about it. So the basic idea was the carbon reinforced concrete slab has been modeled in ANSYS, as well as in a few more. StatPro is another open source available, which generally civil engineering students will be using. So those results probably I can discuss with Triveni madam if required. Okay. So if you have any queries, we can discuss, so that I will go back. And I thought, in order to save some time, I was rushing through, I guess. That's the reason I was able to finish it within 45 minutes. I'm not pretty much sure how much time I took, basically. So you please let me know if I want to brief furthermore, I can actually discuss further.
So thank you, madam, for a wonderful speech. Madam, madam, is the structural health monitoring the sensors that is been done? Is it been done in your this one, madam, in your research center? Any other this one structural monitoring?
Yeah, ma'am. This complete case study was last semester work. But now, currently, what we are doing, in fact, from RNSIT, Rajini madam, student Mrs. Ibrar, was doing fiber-related FPG-based devices for her PhD work. Subsequently, the same FPG we have taken, and now we are doing the structural health monitoring. Currently, the students are working in Oxford Engineering College. We are using the facility offered by Dr. Preeta Sharan. At this juncture, I would like to thank her also. I think even the listeners must be knowing about Dr. Preeta. So, Madam has the facility called as FPG interrogator. So, our students have gone to Oxford College and they are using that testing facility. And meanwhile, the subsequent batch of civil engineering students, they cast the structure already. The concrete beam, whatever we modeled earlier in the software like ANSYS and StatPro, now that student has another PG student, MS by research student is working. She is Ms. Chitra, and I would like to acknowledge her also here. She has cast a structure, and the UG students who are working on FPG are going to put the FPG on top of that and subject that to loading. So next time, probably when I give a talk, I could even produce the experimental results which we are carrying out as of now.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, for accepting for our FDP to give your talk on sensors, madam, structural sensors. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you have any
questions,
then please unmute yourself and speak few words. I think there is no questions, madam. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. Thank you so much.